You're listening to Blaxit Radio with on-air personalities in Costa Rica, Panama, Mexico, and Tanzania. Playing smooth jazz, quiet storm, R&B, reggae, and the very best talk, 24/7.
My name is Devin Austin, aka the Divine Miss D, and I'm the general manager at Blaxit Radio, as well as the talk show host for This Is It, Straight Talk for the Blaxit community. My show airs every Saturday afternoon from 12 noon to 1 p.m. Costa Rica time. And a little bit about me, I am retired from the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm a blogger, a vlogger, the admin and the founder of Black Expats in Costa Rica. And with a strong desire to be global citizens, we made our Blaxit from California in 2016, basically fed up with a lot of things, fed up with overpricing, fed up with the dangerous politics, and fed up with what we saw as the increasing and ongoing racism and discrimination that was going on in the United States. Since then, we've been in Costa Rica. We're residents in Costa Rica for 6 years, living in the beautiful Central Valley of Costa Rica. We spent 4 years in the picturesque mountain town of Grecia, surrounded by coffee. And the last 2 years we spent in the more upscale cosmopolitan Estazú, which is kind of a suburb of the capital city of San Jose. Today, I'm teaming up with my Blaxit Radio co-host, Charlotte Van Horn, for the first Blaxit Radio joint, which is the Costa Rica versus Panama roundtable, where we, or primarily you, will be discussing the differences and the similarities of living in Costa Rica and living in Panama. So I'm really happy that everyone could join us today. I think this is going to be very informative and helpful for people who want to follow in our footsteps, people who just want to get some information regarding the differences between living in Panama and living in Costa Rica. So with that, I would like to welcome and introduce my Blaxit Radio joint co-host, Charlotte Van Horn, Black Expats in Panama.
Hey, how y'all doing? This is Charlotte Van Horn, Black Expats in Panama by way of Glassboro, New Jersey. You know it right here on BlaxitRadio.com, baby, because that's what we do. And I'm just glad to be here today. Thank you, Ms. Devin, for that lovely introduction. I just want to thank you for being a pioneer for Blaxit Radio. You and Riley have done something really great. It's been amazing how the station has grown, and just thank you for your hard work and dedication to that. Somebody got to get stuff started, right? Somebody got to get stuff started. So I'm happy to be here today. I am a host on Blaxit Radio. My show is Black Expats in Panama and all that other stuff I just said. I air every Sunday at 2 p.m. Costa Rica time. And basically my show is about my journey from Glassboro, New Jersey, little Glassboro, New Jersey, to Panama City, Panama. And I like to blend it up with a little R&B. I start every segment with Al Green. I'm so tired of being alone. And my sister said to me, well, why do you start it with that? You ain't never been alone. I'm like, look, well, what had happened was I was flying back and forth from Panama a lot. I think in 2021, I flew 18 times to Panama. That's my playlist. So every time I'm taking off, Al Green Greatest Hits starts, and it starts with I'm So Tired of Being Alone. So that's just how I ended up having that be in the beginning of my show. I ended up in Panama as a Black expat in Panama because I met my husband. who is Panamanian. I met him in Biloxi, Mississippi back in 1993. And he told me that when he retired, that he was going to move back to Panama. I was like, oh, that's nice. Because I was thinking to myself, there ain't no way in the world I'm ever leaving the United States. I mean, like, what else is there? There is no place as good as the United States. So I just figured we wouldn't be together by the time he got ready to retire anyway. However, here I am, 29 years later with this man in Panama. We actually relocated. We purchased here in 2012, and we did our full transition between 2018, and I have just been here full time. It'll be 1 year next month. Be a year for the radio show. Yeah. So as I was starting the radio show on November 7th, that was when I was actually transitioning here to Panama. I am the founder of Black Expats in Panama. We offer cultural relocation tours. We do 9 cultural relocation tours every year. And our tours is more than seeing where to live and places and everything like that. We emphasize the Black culture in Panama, and we make sure that everybody understands the Black culture when they come here to consider this as their new home. And so our trip is infused with Black culture for the Afro-Antillean, and then also the colonized Black culture here in Panama. So with that said, I don't want to go on and on because I definitely want to give our guests some time to chat, because we're going to have a great conversation. I will end by saying that this is Devin and I's second interview this week.
Yes.
We also had an interview with a Costa Rican attorney and a Panamanian attorney, so that we could do Costa Rica versus Panama from a legal perspective. And that went really well. And we'll be releasing that on our radio shows and perspective YouTube. So without further ado, I'd like to just go ahead and get started introducing our panels. If you can just, our panelists, if you could just tell us where you're from, your name, where you're from, your age, children, what kind of work you do, are you retired, and of course, where you're living right now. And I'll just start with, just go across the screen. And Celeste.
Thank you, Charlotte. Yes, as you mentioned.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Celeste Lawson. I moved to Costa Rica in 2020 from Frederick, Maryland, basically because I was tired of the cold. I didn't intend to end up in Costa Rica. I came for a visit in March 2020. When the pandemic started, I decided to stay, met my husband about a month later, and I'm in my late 30s. I'm an early military retiree, but I'm also the founder of Melanin Tours. And so we also offer cultural relocation tours here in Costa Rica, though.
Awesome. Welcome. And then we have, is it Andrea or Andrea?
It's Andrea.
Andrea. Hey, Andrea.
Yes.
Go ahead and
Hello.
introduce yourself.
I'm Andrea Broussard. I'm originally from Santa Barbara, California, but I was living in the Bay Area when I left the US, and also in 2016, same time frame. But first I went to Germany. I have 2 young girls, ages 9 and 12, and 1 little fur baby. I left going to Germany just for a change for my kids, wanted to give them a different cultural experience, let them experience and travel a little outside of the US, and also learn some different languages. We stayed almost a year and a half in Germany before I got tired of the cold and gray days, and kind of looked on the map, didn't know where was going to go next, but I knew that wanted to teach my girls have them learn Spanish. So we looked at Costa Rica, Panama, and Colombia, and just by a drop of a pin, we ended up in Panama. We were here to stay for 1 year. We came in the beginning of 2018. So our intent was to be here for 1 year where my girls could learn Spanish, and we've been here almost 5 years now. I love it here. I'm in the Coronado area. I recruited my mom and sister to spend some time down here as well. So we bought a condo there, and I'm also in the process of building a home here in the beaches area as well.
Yay, congratulations. That's
Thank
awesome. Very good news. Thank you.
Yeah.
Big Will?
All right. Hola, buenas tardes. Que sopa. I'm Big Will. My name is William Easley, but everybody calls me Big Will. I grew up in North Carolina, but I came to Panama from DC. Been there 3 decades. 52, about to be 53. And I came here with my lovely wife. And since we've been here, we've picked up a dog. His name is Domino, and I'm sure he'll be out here in a second because I'm sitting in his play area. I am the content creator behind Big Will TV, and Big Will TV is my YouTube channel. I have a show called Blaxit to Panama, which started out as really a way for me to have a simple way to explain to my friends and family what I was doing, because people thought I was crazy. But I've enjoyed tremendous success. Thanks everyone for watching. And I'm also just founded a group called Black Men in Panama, and working with Miss Charlotte Van Horn and affiliation with her main group. So hopefully we'll be doing some of the same things that the main group has been doing, and keep focused on men. We have our first event coming up tomorrow night, as a matter of fact. So I'm looking very forward to that. Blaxit to Panama. I'm trying to keep to a 2-week schedule. Y'all, content creation is hard. Sorry. Both of us work remote work into the States. So in my professional capacity, I'm a consultant to federal government contractors. Boring, right? But the heart is with Big Will TV. So, and the
Well,
journey
the money
here,
is nice.
No doubt. It's a little bit different getting that paycheck here than in DC. So
yes, absolutely.
It hits a little different. The journey here, though, started a decade ago, talking about places to retire, places we could afford to retire with my DC homies. And somebody mentioned Panama, and I laughed at them, and then started doing research. And then Trump got elected, and it became, all right, we need an escape plan. So we accelerated the research, and we were looking at bouncing around the Caribbean, and we thought about the DR for a second. We thought about the Leagues. We thought about Portugal, but then COVID hit. So we couldn't get the travel done to these places. But as soon as we got our vaccines, Panama was the first place that we hit, and it was a wrap.
Well, we are glad that you're here, and we want to hear more about your story as we continue to talk. How about you, Miss Terry? Thanks, Will.
Okay, my name is Terry Garrett, and I moved here from Atlanta, Georgia. I was born in Cincinnati, born and raised, and lived up north a lot, but I spent a lot of time in Atlanta before I came to Panama. I am 70 years old. I have no children or grandchildren, and I moved here as a single person. When I was working, I was a project manager. Basically a business project manager, doing different kinds of large strategic projects for businesses. And then I retired, and I would say 20 years ago, I just said, one day I want to live on an ocean. And that's really what started my journey. For me, it was just a dream, but then over time it became a goal. And I just assumed that was going to be Florida. And after I realized I couldn't afford
what I wanted in Florida, then maybe somewhere like Gulf Shores, Alabama or something, but nothing seemed right. And then I got an International Living magazine just out of the blue in my email. And I found out that people retire and live nice lives overseas. So I just started doing the research. And like Will and others said, I looked around Panama, Costa Rica, Belize, Portugal, et cetera, Ecuador, et cetera, all the probably the standard places most people look. And just doing a pluses and minuses, pros and cons for what I wanted and what I could afford, I felt like Panama had the best options because I had to live, regardless of what else, I had to live on an ocean and I have to see it and I have to hear it. And so that's what fueled me getting here to the beach area of Coronado. The fact that Trump won and things just seemed to be getting worse and worse and horrible was just more to get me to move faster. So, but I'm here.
Welcome. Devin called it dangerous politics.
That's right.
That. You know what, girl? That's it. That's exactly what it is. Dangerous politics. I hadn't really heard it put quite like that, but that's exactly what it was. So, okay, Kima.
Hello, I am Kima Ward or Kima Ward Hopper. And I am 40 years old. I moved to Costa Rica. We came here July of 2018. And our story, we didn't have the wherewithal to leave just because of the dangerous politics or anything like that. It was a bit more personal. We came with my daughter. She will be 14 in, what's today, the 3rd? So in 8 days, she'll be 14. And she was 9 when we moved. And the 3 of us came because in 2017, we lost our home to Hurricane Harvey and in Houston. So I came here from Houston, but I am an Army brat. So before Houston, I was in Charlotte, because that's where I went to college. And before that, we were bouncing around the US and Europe. And, but I was born in Arkansas on the Mississippi Delta. And so we lost our home and it was like, the housing market was crazy, price gouging, millions of people needed homes. And so after losing 2 or 3 houses, because someone bought them before we could look at them, my husband was like, well, maybe we should relocate. And I was like, okay, well, what state? And he's like, no, let's leave the country. Because I missed that part of the story. I am a cancer survivor. So when I was 30, on my 34th birthday, I found a lump. It turned out to be stage 2B, HER2 positive breast cancer, which is the most aggressive type of breast cancer known to man. And I had to go through a really tough chemo. So that put some things in perspective. But before that diagnosis, we had planned to take a year off and travel Central and South America with Erlen. We were just going to take her out of school, take a year. And he says, well, let's just go and forget about the sabbatical. So everything we didn't lose in the hurricane, we sold it. And we came here because we got married here in 2016 while I was going through chemo. And we were here for 2.5 weeks. And it was the best I had felt the entire time I had been being treated for cancer. My wedding night, I couldn't dance all night. I had to go back and go to sleep because I had a lot of chemo in my system. And so maybe halfway through our honeymoon, Nick noticed that I was able to do all the hikes and I was feeling better. I was looking better. It was like the light was coming back into me. And so that always stuck with us. So when it was time to choose a place, Costa Rica was top on the list just because of how good my body felt. And since being here, we have gained a son. He's 2, and a dog, Heidi. We got her maybe 4 or 5 months after being here. She showed up at our house and we kept her. And our son was a miracle baby. We weren't supposed to be able to have any more kids after the chemo. But Costa Rica, for those of you that live here, you know, it'll heal you, right? And so chemo had sent me into early menopause. So I was like 36 and it was over. And when I came here, that started back. And then about 6 months after that started, it stopped again. And I was like, oh, it was like the last hurrah. And I thought that the menopause had just come and it was over.
It was the baby.
It was the baby.
So that's our story. It's kind of
what a great story.
Yeah.
You know, people have that
story.
same experience in Panama, that whole healing, revitalization. Really, people come here and get off of medication. Thank you so much, Kima. I love your story.
And Kima, is Nick here? Is Nick participating?
He is, but that baby I just mentioned is in there. And he is giving her a really hard time. So to see if he could calm the baby down, and he'll be back. Is there anything specific you wanted to know about Nick?
No. I wanted to make sure if he was going to be.
Yeah, hopefully. It may be Nick and Nico, but we'll see.
Bring the baby.
Okay.
Okay, so we go by Jewel or Jay today?
Jay. Jewel is Thesha's email address.
Oh, okay. Hello, my love.
Hello.
Welcome.
I'm Jay Tyler. I'm born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. We moved here in January of this year from Atlanta. I am 50 years old. I have 3 adult sons and 4 granddaughters. When we came here initially, I have been stalking the Black Expats of Panama and Costa Rica pages for about a year. Reached out to Celeste to talk to her about possibly coming to tour Costa Rica. And then I think she was having some health challenges at the time. So we ended up just coming there and looking around and checking it out. But before we came there, we came to Panama first, Panama City. So we went there, checked it out, hung around a couple of cities, but it just didn't quite seem like the right fit for us. It wasn't an easy transition. And my wife had just basically removed herself from a job as a school social worker because of the stress that was going on in the school system with COVID. And we just needed something that was easy that we can just transition into. And Panama just seemed like the right fit for us, as far as the currency being the same, the infrastructure is kind of the same as the US. It was just very, very easy. So she quit her job and I retired from my job. I was a hospital administrator for over 20 years. And we both retired. We had been researching for years about leaving, like a lot of other people said, after Trump won, the political climate started to really change, and things that probably were already there were just overt. And and then living in the South is even worse. So I was just tired of it. And I think the thing that really pushed us to move was the last year of 2020, my mother got really, really sick. And I spent that entire year just being her caregiver. And she died at the end of that year. And when she passed away, she said, I just want you to promise me that you'll travel. And because my mother never went anywhere but church. That was it. She had the means and the finances to do it, but she never did it. And so we decided that also with living in Panama, you have close proximity to a lot of other countries that you can access a lot easier than you can the United States. So after she passed away, the kids were grown. We sold both of our houses. When we did a closing on the last house, we hopped on the plane the next day and came here and just decided that, we want to travel and live while we are able to do it. And so that's kind of our story.
Khalil and Ocean, introduce yourself.
Each other.
Okay. My name is Ocean Morissette. I'm from United States, New York City, by way of Haiti. And I'm a photographer. We've been in Puerto Viejo, Costa Rica for about 6 months now. We're building our our house and casita that we plan to rent out as Airbnb guest house right here in Puerto Viejo. In fact, we just moved into our casita today, so we're very excited about that, while we live in the construction zone of our house being built right across the way. So I don't know what else to say. I'm 52. I'm not retired yet. I'll just go through some of the questions I saw on the list. I'm not retired yet. I'm here kind of figuring out my next move. You know, I'm very much still into photography. I've just had a couple hotel gigs. People hire me to photograph their hotel, do some interiors. I've been doing some model portfolios and just documenting life in Puerto Viejo. That aspect is important to me because there's a perception, a negative perception that a lot of people have about the region, the entire Limon province, which Puerto Viejo is a part of. And oftentimes we find that that negative perception is rooted in racism. So my goal as a photographer slash photojournalist slash documentarian is to, you know, show people exactly the beauty and the beauty of the people, the culture, and the life here in Puerto Viejo. So again, it's only been 6 months. I guess in the big scheme of things, that's really 10 minutes. It seems long, but it's not really long at all in terms of the kind of the long life we have and we anticipate that lies ahead of us.
And I'm Khalil, also from New York, also Haitian. I taught writing and diversity programs at the college level in New York City and Westchester County. And I decided to come down here and be a beach bum with a pension, and I'm loving every minute of it. Puerto Viejo is a very special place because it's the one place we've ever known that where we are king and queens here. Like, we are treated with so much love and respect here. The cops smile at you, wave at you. Hey, how you doing, Khalil? You know, and for brothers especially, it's just a very strange thing to get used to, but a really good strange thing to get used to. My blood pressure has dropped drastically. I don't feel on edge like I'm used to. I'm really into myself now. Like, I'm really getting to know who I am when I'm at peace, because in the US, I was always, y'all know what that is, you know, you're always ready. You're always ready. And here, even when you come with that, man, within a month, all that goes. And then there's the health factor. I used to have all kinds of back problems, stress related, obviously, from living in America. I come here, gone. My stresses are gone. My back pains are gone. And again, like Ocean said, we've just been here 6 months. And so the health benefits are off the chain here for Black folk. So, and so now I'm here and I'm creating a little writing project retreat for people both from the US and here who have a story to tell, and I help them tell their story, including Devin. Devin has a story, but I'll let her share that when she's ready. But I help here, what I do in love is I help people tell their stories. And especially people from the US who want to perfect their craft in a tropical environment that's isolated. And I create that for them. So that's who we are.
In a nutshell.
In a nutshell.
Oh, wow. Thank you
Wonderful.
so much. I love your story. Great stories.
The
I'm gonna
stories
turn it
are
over to
great.
you, Devin.
Yes, everyone has a wonderful
Yes.
story. So I guess we should get started with the with some of the topics that we had listed that we were going to talk about. So now that we kind of have the basic information about your personal stories, let's talk a little bit about life in the countries that you've chosen to relocate to. And so the first topic would be, how did you decide where to live in Costa Rica or in Panama?
Anybody can go.
Anybody can unmute.
I'll jump
anybody.
in. When we decided we were going to stay in Panama, we said, well, we're going to go stay out at the beaches, you know, because we're like, wow, we couldn't afford to live at the beach like this, you know, back in the USA. And so we spent like the first 2 months in San Carlos. And I think about the fourth weekend, we're like, oh, this is, we're not really retirement age. So, you know, it was a little bit slow for us, and we really missed the city life. And also we rented a car. We didn't own a car, and that's very expensive to do in Panama. And so that was kind of our decision to go back to Panama City. You know, the nightlife, we don't have to have a car if we don't want one, so we can walk everywhere. There's, you know, transportation is easy. Uber is easy. Taxis are cheap. It just made more sense for us. So that's why we chose Panama.
So next up, tell us why you're where you are, Kima and Nick.
Yes. We are in rural Costa Rica. The roads aren't paved, and we have to go 20 minutes for groceries, 20 minutes or more. But we ended up here completely serendipitous. When I told you we got married here and we honeymooned here, when we decided we were coming here, I reached out to my Airbnb host, who I had kept in touch with for all that time that we were gone. And I told her what we were wanting to move. And she goes, oh, I know someone who did that. I'll get you in touch with her. So she got me in touch with her. And that woman was so helpful. I mean, she's like, okay, you need to do this, this, and this. And then you need to plan a trip and come open a bank account, because you can't do anything without a bank account. And so she's like, and when you come for that, you have this, this, and this. And so we planned a trip, and she goes, and you can stay with me. So my husband at the time, he was working like 60 hours a week or more. And I was like, all right, we're going to Costa Rica this day in March. He's like, okay. So like, we might've been in Costa Rica on the way. He's like, so where are we staying? I'm like, oh, we're staying with the lady that's been helping us. He's like, we're staying at somebody's house. I was like, look,
Don't know her.
We don't know her. We didn't know her at all, but it was such a good experience. She took us around this area and we loved it. It was quiet, and we have our daughter was 9. And so we wanted her to have a little bit of how we grew up. We both grew up in rural areas. He grew up in North Carolina. I grew up in my summers were in Arkansas. Yeah. And so, so we wanted her to have a little bit of that. And so far it has been that way. But it was a stroke of luck.
And finding the place was a stroke of luck. So we requested them to look for us a place. Same people who allowed us to come stay. We didn't get a place on our recon visit, but once we went back, they found us a place. They texted us. We saw it and was like, all right.
We signed a lease without seeing it. It was like, we found a place and the price was right. And yeah, and so we didn't see the place that we were going to be living in until we got here.
And it's a magical place. Like we're living in a place that I couldn't imagine. I couldn't draw this. It's just such a beautiful environment to be in here.
If you're friends with us on Facebook, you've seen our view, like from our yard. It is $1 million view for sure.
Wow. It's a lot of trees.
It's where the jungle meets the ocean. So
yes,
like
exactly.
We can see Playa Bejuco from here. We can see the ocean. We can see the mountain ranges. So there's valley, there's ocean, there's jungle, there's monkeys, there's birds, it's everything. It is, and then we're up on a hill. So our nearest neighbor is like a 5-minute walk. If you go through the trails that we've made in the jungle, or you have
trails.
Yeah.
Don't say that to Charlotte.
Trails. Our neighbors, they've made amazing trails between all the houses. And then she had a lot where they had an actual teepee. They had a friend who was Native American, and she gifted them a teepee. and they would do all of the neighbor gatherings there. So if there was going to be a meteor shower or something, we all took the trails to the TP lot and we lay out and watch the meteor showers and stuff there. So it's a magical place.
Awesome. Anybody else? Will, did you have something?
Yeah, so my story mirrors what Jay said a lot. As a matter of fact, we followed the exact same path. It just took us a little bit longer to come to the same realization. For us, the mentality was we're leaving the city. I moved to DC from Atlanta, so we've both been in cities our whole life. Neither one of us have lived at a beach. Let's see what the beach is like. And watching the YouTube videos that were available at the time, it seemed like Boquete was going to be the spot for us. And when I booked the trip to Panama, that's when I realized how difficult it is to get to Boquete. And I was like, scratch that. We're going to go see if the beach is as hot as people say it is. And we got out there and had a magical time. Just like Jay, we also stalked Black expats in Panama. That was one of the huge factors in giving us the green light to make this decision, because we knew, soft landing, sense of community, all of that was in place. So thank you for that. When we got to Coronado for the site visit, we already knew people because of the group. We had already connected with folks. So we already had, the whole list of red flags, critters and earthquakes and, all kinds of stuff. And we didn't see any red flags. So we went ahead and went through the decision. But, the beach was wonderful. It allowed us to de-stress and to, overcome, decades of American living. So it took us about 8 months before we started realizing, like, maybe we're really city kids after all. We're always running to the city for things. I have a car here in Panama, and my car kept breaking down. So I had to keep going up the hill to Chorrero or to the city to get things fixed. We're doing a lot of events, and then we're traveling because it's easier, as Jay said. And every time we traveled, we had to spend a night at the Sortis. We love the Sortis, but we had to spend a night at the Sortis on the way in, and then spend a night on the Sortis on the way out. And it would just start to get a little ridiculous. And we also, I'm 50, she's still in her 40s. So, it was a little, the community it wasn't what we were looking for when we moved from the United States. So we're now in Panama City, and we love it. It's what we're used to. So.
Did you actually start out in Boquete? Is that what you?
No, the research that we were seeing through the available YouTube videos at that point in time were leading us to Boquete.
Yes.
We thought that Boquete was going to be it because we didn't want to be too hot. Hearing that, you can have spring-like temperatures was great. We love spring, right? Everybody loves spring. And then, hearing that the beaches were like an hour away, or some beaches may be an hour away, and then there's a city nearby. It started making a lot of sense. Again, we had already come to terms with Panama's infrastructure, the healthcare. We knew Panama made a lot of sense when you looked at the X's and Y's and pros and cons. But it was just about where in Panama were we going to make that landing. And if it had been easier for us to get to Boquete, we probably would have made our first trip to Boquete. But the first trip, the site visit, we went to Coronado because it's only 90 minutes outside the city. We rented a car. I did the drive because I wanted to see what it was going to be like as a resident here. And, we loved it. It's a great environment. That area is built for vacations and, relaxation and everything. So we absolutely loved it. Some of the properties we found out there were beautiful. The building we stayed in, the Gorgona, was marvelous. We had a hard time leaving something that had a restaurant in the lobby and beach bars and all that good stuff. But the city has a lot to offer. We don't have a beach bar, but Cascovia Hills is right next door. So,
they were in, just to put it in perspective, they were in Coronado and Gorgona, which is, if people are looking at Panama places, you see those names a lot as far as beach communities. And then of course, Boquete. But I think it's interesting that when you get here, no matter what you've seen or heard on YouTube or whatever, you have to make your own assessment, and so people
what,
change their mind
Charlotte?
sometimes.
We
Yes,
actually
ma'am.
we visited Boquete. This is Jay.
Okay.
We visited Boquete, and that was one of our first stops. We went to Vide, and then we went up to Boquete. And the main reason that we didn't want to stay in Boquete is that we went to this restaurant, and in the front there were Panamanian people, and the lady ushers us to the back. And when we get to the back of the restaurant, I thought I was back in the United States, like, it wasn't a Blaxit, just put it that way. And I was just like, no, I didn't come here for this. So that was kind of our factor. I didn't see anybody that looked like me from the US there. And so I knew right then that was not where I was supposed to be.
Yeah. Terry, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I did want to say something just about Panama locations, just so that the people that have talked so far are much younger. They're not retirees. So I don't want people to feel like, don't come to the beach, because retirees and people who want to relax may like the beach. My family calls me the socialite, because whenever they're trying to set up some time with me to do something, it's like, oh, I can't do that because I got this today and then this tonight. And it's, to me, there's a lot going on, but I'm a different age group than those other people. To me, I feel like there's so much. I have to get to a point where I have to start saying no.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. So just wanted to say.
Good point.
Also for me, I'm 42 and I live in the beaches area, and I've been here my entire stay in Panama. But for me, it was focused mostly on schools for my kids. And in the beaches area, there's 3 growing international schools, which a lot more expat families and families from out of the country are coming here. So that's what attracted me to the beaches area. I wanted to live on the beach, but really my focus was on where the schools would be for my girls. So, and living here, you do see a lot of retirees, but also there are a great number of new expat families and families that are moving here to the area as well. So that's nice.
Celeste, were you going to say something?
Yes. Well, that was Andrea in Panama for the radio.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome. So I lived in Playas del Coco, which is a beach on the Guanacaste region, so the Pacific side of Costa Rica, for 2.5 years. As I mentioned, I was a pandemic mover. So I got here March 1st, took a couple of weeks to just kind of decompress. And then as I was ready to emerge and explore the rest of the country and figure out where I wanted to be, or if I was going to move on to another country, because initially I was looking at Ecuador and Brazil. And for whatever reason at that time, it just seemed really difficult to figure out how to visit, let alone move there. And Southwest was having sales on flights to Costa Rica. So I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure I can figure out my life on a beach in Costa Rica. So that's how I ended up in Costa Rica. And then as I'm ready to emerge, the announcement was made. I got the email from the embassy that the borders were closing and we had 2 days to decide whether we were going to stay or leave. So I had put my condo on the market, so we were in mid-closing. And so, back then we were like, oh, this will be over by June. So I was like, well, I could find my closing doc, get some stuff out of storage, and then figure out what's next. I was like, oh, do you really want to be sleeping on your mom's couch? No, not really. So I'm like, I got this place for the rest of the month, and then I just figure out, what's next from there. Then, as I mentioned, the following month, I met my husband. He's a local here. And so we took advantage of the pandemic pricing. And so we moved about 6 times in that area to find the perfect place. And so we did end up finding a 1-bedroom with the ocean view for $500 a month. And so even though I've always been a city girl at heart, it was very difficult to make the decision to move to San Jose, which we did this past July.
San Jose is the city?
Yes, that's the capital city.
Okay.
And so, so we love it here. So we have a different view now. We live next to a river, and we have, even though we're in the city, we have like a mountain view. It's very calm and peaceful here. I love having more access to regular Ubers, even though we have a car. It's a manual, so I can't drive it. So I like to, go out and do my own thing. There's plenty of things to do, museums, movies. This past weekend, me and some of my friends, we actually went out. I found a secret speakeasy. So so a code word and all. It's literally kind of book based. So we went there and then had a great time. So we got our own little nice, girls social club, or not social club. I had one of those. I don't have anymore. But it's just a lot of things to do, a lot of different age groups. And I think one of the things I like about Costa Rica is that there's just like a big variety of pockets of Black expats across the country.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a growing community in Playa del Coco. Like when I left, there was like a neighborhood, it was like 90% Black.
Wow.
Atenas is really growing. So that's in the Central Valley. So it's like a little mountainous region. So we have a lot of expats growing there. They have regular meetups there, 20 to 30 people come, and there's a vegan chef out there. Obviously, Puerto Viejo, the Caribbean coast, where most of the Afro-Costa Ricans live, is, predominantly Afro descended people, as well as Black expats. And then in Central Valley here, like around the capital, we're really growing as well. Earlier this year, I did a meetup for one of my tours, and the restaurant ran out of chairs and tables for us.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
Wow. That's a little different from the States. And I think that when people are coming into, it's a common question when people are coming into the group, like, where the Black people at? We everywhere. We here, there, everywhere. You know what I'm saying? It's not segregated like so much of the United States still is, and so Black people you just live wherever you want to live. And it's pockets of us, here and there. The great thing about it is that, and I think a big part was Black expats in Panama gave us a way to connect.
Exactly.
So that's the difference now, that we have figured out how to connect with one another. But that's awesome.
I think that's the same thing that happens in Costa Rica. I know with the Black expats in Costa Rica Facebook page, that's what we mostly get too. It's like, where are you? Where are you? And when I moved here in 2016, there weren't really very many Black people here at all, which is one of the reasons why I started the group, because I figured there must be some Black people somewhere, but I didn't know where they were. So I started the group basically so that I could find some other Black people, because we had, it's not that we necessarily needed to live around Black people, but there are just certain things that you want to know and certain questions that you often have that can only be answered by somebody else that's Black. You know what I mean? The other thing is, sometimes when people come in the group and they say, we're the Black people, they want to be in the neighborhood. And in Costa Rica, it's not set up like the States. There's not neighborhoods. Like, you're not going to say, you go to a tennis and there's like the Black neighborhood. There might be a Black person living here, and then, a mile or so away, there might be another Black person over there. I mean, everyone is spread out. So sometimes I think what happens is, when people think they're coming and there's Black people there, they think they're going to come and there's going to be like this group of people, or it's going to be like Atlanta or something, which is not. You know what I mean? So we have, like Celeste said, we have pockets of people in all different areas. So sometimes it's really hard to answer that question when people say, where should I move? I want to be around the Black people. It's like, wow.
Well,
kind of
Panama is very brown.
Huh?
Panama is very brown.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, you do. I
know.
looked at the stats in Panama, and there was like, I think it was 24% or something like that for the Black people in Panama, and in Costa Rica, it's only like 7%. So,
and that might be, you know, speaking of black and brown is, you know, two different things, but you're not as likely to see somebody with blonde hair and blue eyes here. That's an anomaly. You know what I'm saying? You don't see a lot of that. If you do, it's somebody that's moved here from the US, but that's good information. Let's move on to, I know that some of us are still working. Let's talk about internet. Internet is a big deal because, you know, people are moving here. We have parents on the call from Costa Rica and Panama, you know, so do your kids need access to internet for school? You know, is it a homeschool situation? We have people who are still working. So y'all go ahead and jump in. Tell me what you think about the internet life in Panama and Costa Rica.
I'll start, Andrea from Panama. I homeschooled, or I guess it was for over COVID for a year and a half. And so obviously they were on a school through the US during that time. And we had no issues during the entire time with internet speeds or anything during homeschooling for the year and a half that we did that. And yeah, and that time we did live in a building with a generator always, so we didn't have any blackouts or anything. So that was important for us when we were making our decision, because living in a building or having a generator to make sure that we always had internet and power.
Good answer.
Celeste,
go ahead, Celeste.
Costa Rica.
Oh. Okay. So I'll pretty much cover like a broad spectrum. So typically around the beach areas, the coast, you'll typically see about 50 to 100 megabytes per second is the average speed that you'll find. It's pretty stable. Fiber optic covers most of the country. Where you'll start to see the higher speeds is in the capital and in the cities. So obviously San Jose and surprisingly Gracia has very good internet. So it's a very mountainous region, but they even get in 50 megabytes in LTE, so cellular coverage. So I was very surprised by that. So they have very stable and high velocity internet. And there's about 7 large cities in Costa Rica. So internet, it's probably after the where are the Black people question, that's the next question I get from clients. What's the internet like?
And internet has come a long way too, because when we first moved here in 2016, it was a house to house situation. You had to go in, you almost had to basically do your own speed test. But it's gotten a lot better and fiber optics is around. And so I don't hear as many complaints.
Up to 600 megabytes. Up to 600 megabytes per second.
We've got excellent internet here in Escazú too. I love it.
Will, did you want to say something? Will from Panama?
Yes, ma'am. This is Big Will from Panama. And so we both of us remote work. My wife's, the nature of her job is she's directly supporting a federal agency, and in fact, one of the defense agencies. And she has a security clearance. So she has to remain logged in and up and running in order to be able to provide the support that she's supposed to do. And then all of my work is video conferences. So we need the internet, and the internet worked really well here. That was a huge consideration for us. There are some tweaks to it though. Panama has several internet providers that you can choose from. And my personal experience has been, we've been with Tigo twice, and we get hiccups throughout the day. So just, today there was a hiccup, and then I got a text message a few minutes later that, la explosion, and it's always an explosion. So I'm like, what's going on with with Tigo, why so many things blowing up? But you know, the internet was down for about 15 minutes, and then it came back, and then so they must have flipped the switch and fixed something, and then they took it down again for like 15 seconds, and then it came back. But the fiber optics that we've had were absolutely wonderful. We had a company in Coronado that services Panama. However, because of the businesses and how the competition and how some of the, I'm trying to be politically correct here, some of the folks in business don't want other people in business to be able to affect their business well, and they have the power to back that up. It seems that Tigo is holding up the proliferation of access to some other faster, fiber optics. And then for YouTube, all right, here's a good determination. For me to upload a 10-minute episode to YouTube, at this point, it's taken about 2 or 3 hours to upload that information. The download speeds are fine. It's uploading it that's a pain in the butt. With the fiber optic, that would have been 5 minutes. There were times in Gorgona when I clicked to upload the thing, and I'm trying to type the description in, and all the stuff that you need to get a YouTube video up, and the video is uploaded before I even finish typing what I needed. But that's not happening anymore. Now I set it up before I go to sleep, and in the morning, it's usually working. So that's just me for content creation. Those are 4K videos. Most people aren't doing that. If you're supporting the Department of Defense, you're good.
Okay. Devin, do you want to ask the next question?
Yeah, let me get back to
We're kind of we're getting into different things as we go, so we can kind of hop around.
Okay, so let's talk about the cost of living in each area. How have you found the cost of living as compared to the United States? Everyone should be chiming in on this one.
I'll go first.
Okay.
We have found, so when we first moved, there was a huge difference between the States and here. The last year and a half, the prices of things have gone up significantly. Like, I know they talk about it in the States, and I've seen it here. It's still probably not as bad as it is in the States, but I've definitely seen that increase on things here. But we are able to live comfortably, I would say about $2,000 a month, on $2,000 a month. And that wouldn't even cover the basic expenses for us when we lived in Houston. Oh, and this is Kima from Costa Rica. I forgot to say that.
Guanacaste.
Yeah, we're in Guanacaste. And so yeah, we're able to live comfortably on 2,000 USD a month. And in the States, comfortably, we probably had, it was like maybe 5,000 to 6,000 USD. And that's like eating out, going to the movies, doing the things, entertainment things. And I would say here it's about 2,000. If we were to be super duper strict, we could probably make it on 1,500. Having the baby increased what we needed to spend monthly. Before the baby, it was even less than that. It was much less than that.
And may I say, living in the Bay Area, $2,000 will get you a cardboard box on the street.
Yeah, in Houston, same thing. I mean, in Houston, 2,000 might cover.
Probably rent.
I was like, that might cover your rent or your mortgage, depending on where you live. And because we wanted our daughter to be in a good school, we chose a smaller place in a nicer neighborhood. So it wouldn't have gone very far at all.